This is a story of quiet sacrifice, slow rising, and a love that was never meant to be until it was. She married him to give her mother a peaceful death. He married her knowing exactly why. 2 years later, he runs a billion-dollar company, and every single person in that building has seen the way he goes quiet when her name appears on his phone. Her mother was dying in October. Not dramatically, not the way people die in movies, with last words in golden light, quietly in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and cold coffee. Her mother was disappearing one slow day at a time, and her only remaining worry in a life already full of them, was leaving her daughter alone. "Layla," she kept saying. "Layla, I just need to know you'll be all right." So Layla found Daniel. He wasn't rich. He wore the same 2 jackets in rotation. He drove a car that sometimes started and sometimes didn't. He worked long, unglamorous hours building something no one believed in yet. But he was steady in a way Layla recognized the way a building is steady. Not because nothing shakes it, but because it was built to absorb the shaking. She told him the truth, all of it. She needed a husband on paper. 6 months, maybe less. Long enough for her mother to stop worrying. He could leave whenever he wanted after. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he asked one question. "Does she want to meet me first?" Layla blinked. She'd expected negotiation or refusal. Not that. "Yes," she said. "She'd like that." He nodded once. "Then let's not make her wait." She had not expected kindness. Kindness was the one thing she hadn't prepared for. The first month was careful, polite. Strangers sharing space the way people share. Umbrellas, grateful, a little awkward, aware of every accidental touch. He gave her the bedroom, slept on the couch without discussion. She found his blanket folded each morning with a precision that told her he'd been raised to leave things better than he found them. She cooked sometimes out of habit. He ate whatever she made without complaint, cleaned the kitchen after, and never once commented on the fact that she put too much pepper in everything. She had been warned about this by everyone who'd ever eaten her food. He never said a word. It started with a fever. Layla woke at 3 in the morning, freezing and burning at the same time, and stumbled to the kitchen for water. Daniel was already awake. She didn't know why, she never asked. And he looked at her once and pressed the back of his hand to her forehead. Before she could say anything, his hand was cool. Very cool. She stood still without meaning to. He didn't move either for a second. Then he said quietly, "Sit down. I'll get something." He brought medicine, water, and a damp cloth. Sat across from her while she took it. Didn't hover. Didn't make it a moment. Just stayed. Close enough that she could feel his presence like a steadying hand on her back, even though he wasn't touching her at all. When she went back to bed, she realized she'd forgotten to say thank you. She also realized she'd felt, for the first time in months, like someone was watching over her. She told herself it didn't mean anything. She was not convincing. Her mother died in December, quietly, on a Tuesday, with Layla's hand in hers and the sound of the city muffled behind hospital glass. Daniel drove her home. He didn't say anything wise. He didn't tell her it would be okay. He just drove. And when they got home and she couldn't make herself get out of the car, he turned off the engine and sat with her in the dark for a long time. No pressure, no clock running. She didn't cry until then. Something about the stillness of him finally cracked something open in her. He handed her a tissue from the glove box without looking at her. It was the same calm efficiency he applied to everything, and she laughed once through the crying at the absurdity of it. 3 days after the funeral, Layla came home to find Daniel in the kitchen, not cooking, just standing there holding the photograph, her mother's, from the side table in the living room. He set it down carefully when she entered. She had a good face, he said, the kind that makes a room feel safer. Layla stopped walking. Nobody had said it like that. Not the relatives who'd come and gone with their careful condolences. Not her closest friends. Just him. This man she'd married for paperwork, describing her mother in 8 words that were more precise than anything, said in 3 days of mourning. She crossed the kitchen and hugged him. It surprised them both. She felt him go still for a beat, then his arms came around her slowly, Fully, the way you hold something you're afraid of breaking. Neither of them spoke. The kitchen light hummed. Outside, a car passed. When she stepped back, he looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite name. Not pity, not discomfort. Something quieter than that. Something careful. Dinner, he said after a beat. I made something. It's probably wrong. It was wrong. He'd added no pepper at all. She ate 2 bowls. Nobody could have predicted what Daniel built. Not the investors who'd turned him down. Not the business reporters who now wanted the interview. Not even Layla, who had lived beside him during the entire quiet, relentless climb, and still found herself surprised. He was the same person. That was the part people didn't understand. The suits were better now. The car started every time. But he still folded his blanket in the morning, though he didn't sleep on the couch anymore. Hadn't for a long time, and he still ate whatever she made without commentary about the pepper. His phone on the counter with her name on the screen. He picks it up before the second ring. The world saw the CEO, the architect of something extraordinary. Other men now studied. Layla saw the man who once sat with her in a cold car because she couldn't move. There was a gala in February. The kind of event where people wore the right things and said the right things, and the whole room functioned as a single, careful performance. Layla was adjusting her earring in the hallway mirror when Daniel appeared behind her, already dressed. Jacket on, the quiet authority he carried now sitting around him like something he'd grown into. He looked at her in the mirror for a moment without speaking. Then he stepped close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, and reached past her to fix a small clasp at the back of her necklace that she hadn't even noticed was wrong. His fingers moved carefully at the back of her neck. She watched him in the mirror. He was focused, unhurried. There, he said. He didn't step back immediately. His eyes met hers in the mirror. That look, the quiet one she'd learned to read like a second language, said something he hadn't put into words yet. Something patient. Something that had been building for 2 years in the space of ordinary evenings. You look, he started. Don't ruin it, she said softly, and she was smiling. He almost smiled. That near smile she'd cataloged somewhere private. I was going to say you look like yourself. She turned to face him. That was going to be the whole sentence. It's a compliment, he said with complete composure. Most people don't manage it. She laughed. He watched her laugh the way people watch something they've quietly wanted to protect. She had married him for paperwork. He had agreed she would eventually understand, for entirely different reasons, reasons he was prepared to wait as long as necessary to explain. It happened on an ordinary night, not a milestone, not an anniversary. Just a Thursday in April, when the windows were open and the air smelled like somewhere else. Layla was reading on the couch when he came home late. He sat down beside her without explanation, closer than usual, close enough that their shoulders touched. She didn't move. He didn't explain. After a while, he said, without looking up, "When is your arrangement with me supposed to end?" She lowered her book. The question landed somewhere complicated. It was 6 months, she said. I believe we're roughly 20 months past that. I know. He was quiet for a moment. I've been meaning to renegotiate. He turned then to face her properly. This man who ran a company by reading a room before anyone else could speak. This man who never miscalculated, who folded his blanket, who sat in parking lots, who fixed necklace clasps and brought fever medicine at 3 in the morning. He looked at her the way he looked at things he was serious about. I don't want a different arrangement, he said. I want this one, permanently, with you fully in it. Layla set the book down. You could have anyone, she said. Not fishing, just honest, the way she'd always been with him. I'm aware. He didn't look away. I want you. 3 words, no performance, no grand gesture. Just that, the quiet, immovable certainty of a man who had made his decision long ago and was only now saying it out loud. She felt it travel through her the way warmth travels, not in a rush, but slowly, reaching places that had been cold for a long time. You should have said something sooner, she told him. You needed time, he said simply. I had it. She reached up and touched his face. Just once, just her palm against his jaw. The way you touch something to make sure it's real. He closed his eyes for exactly 1 second. When he opened them, something in him had shifted. Something previously withheld, finally released. He brought his forehead down to hers, slow, deliberate. The city hummed outside. The curtain moved in the April air. "Still too much pepper," he said quietly against her hair. She laughed into his shoulder. 2 years. He'd been waiting 2 years to say that. He had built an empire from nothing. He had done it with the same unhurried, unshakable patience with which he had loved her, starting from a cold car, a folded blanket, a tissue from a glove box, and 8 words about her mother's face. She hadn't married for love, but love apparently had not required her permission to arrive. People will tell you that love announces itself, that you'll know it when it comes, with lightning, with certainty, with your heart changing keys. But sometimes love enters the way he did. Through a side door you left open in the quiet. Through small, consistent acts of choosing you before you even knew you wanted to be chosen. A tissue in a glove box. A cool hand on a forehead at 3 in the morning. Sitting in the dark with someone not to fix it, just to make sure they don't carry it alone. That is not a fairy tale. That is something older and truer than one. That is someone who decided, long before the declaration, long before the gala and the empire and the April evening, that you were worth the patience. The most disarming thing in the world is not charm. It is being truly, carefully, patiently seen. If this story stays with you, you already know why. Like, follow, stay.